Hey, what's up, comrades? Hope you're doing well. We're here with book number 2 of Solo Leveling. I enjoyed the first book thoroughly, so go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and we'll start on this one. This book opens up with Jin being accosted by the White Tiger guy who wants to offer him a place in their guild. And Jin's like, nah, I'm good. Unless you can give me the price of your whole building, because the guy I'm working for now is giving me a building worth this much, and I know your building's worth more, so give me that. And then the guy's like, I can't afford to do that. I don't have the rights to do that. And Jin's like, there you go. But he's like, hey, homie, don't worry about it. We can stay friends. Just don't tell anybody about any of the stuff you found out. We'll be good. So Jin and his homie continue to do raids for a while, and we find out that the guy's using like his own money to pay for these raids because it costs a bunch of money, and he's like overpaying for them and whatnot. And at some point, Jin gets like a job quest, side quest or whatever, and he's like, oh, I want to go do that. And he's like, hey man, can we cancel the next raid or so? And the guy's like, yeah, I guess we can. And he's really sad eponymous because he spent all this money on it and he doesn't have like unlimited funds. But Jin's like, hey man, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. So Jin contacts the White Tiger guy, and he's like, hey man, we wanna like make peace and sell you some of those gate options or whatever, so that you can train your guys like you want to do. Because we're gonna like take a little breaksy. And he's like, oh, that sounds great. And then Jin's like, I want 3 million won or whatever. And he's like, 3 million won? And I guess like gates normally cost like 1 million won. And he's like, I can't do that. How about 2 million per gate for 3 gates? And Jin's like, yeah, all right, that sounds good. And then him and his homie are like, awesome, we got way more than we wanted. Good old Jin and his intelligence and whatnot. At some point, he bumps into his sister at the house, and she's like, hey, there's a parent-teacher conference. You got to come to that next Thursday. And he's like, oh, fuck. All right, yeah, I guess I'll do that. And she's like, hooray! So then he completes a couple more dungeons, and then he thinks about hitting the Demon Lord's dungeon up, but he's like, nah, I want to do this job change quest first, and then I'll head in there and do that. And so he waits till like late at night, and then he goes out to like a hill, and he opens up the gate, and it's like cool. And he heads inside, and he's never seen like a gate open before, so he's like very amazed by like, oh, this is what a gate looks like, awesome. And he gets in there, and it's all humanoid monsters. So like a knight and like wizards, and like I think there was like an assassin or thieves or whatever. And he's never really fought them before. He's always fought like monsters, like wolf monster and goblins and stuff. So not even like a humanoid, like these are like human, right? Like you're playing like Dark Souls, and you're just fighting those fucking knights at the beginning of the game. But while he's in here, he can't leave until it's over, and he can't access the store, and he can't like use potions or so. He can't like heal or whatever. Anyway, he starts getting like crazy loot. Like he gets another A-class item and some B-class items. He's like stocking up his inventory with like goodies and all that stuff. He's finding a lot of shit, and eventually, he gets up to level like 45, which I don't know what level he was at before this, but so he's sitting there, and that's when he finds the boss's door. Dun dun dun. Boss time. So chapter 2, we find this red armored knight, like the other knights that Jin's been fighting in the first chapter, and he's got this like sweet ass like plumey like mane of a helmet situation going on. And Jin walks up, and he just has his fists out. So then the Ingrid, or whatever, the boss, that's the name that appears above his head in red, he takes his cloak off and throws down his sword and his daggers and everything, and they start punching at each other. And Jin's getting the shit kicked out of him. This guy's really tough, and he's really fast, and he's punch, and Jin's punching back, but doesn't seem to be doing much. And right when Jin's down, the Ingrid guy summons his sword as about to strike him, but then Jin uses these gauntlets he got in the dungeon to defend that, and then he punches the guy a couple times, grabs him real tight, and uses his like dash level 1 or level 2 skill to slam him in the wall. And then at that point he pulls out his dagger, the something fang, and stabs him a bunch of times in the neck until he finally dies. And it's like, yes, I did it, excellent. Gains a couple levels, and then he's like looking around, nothing's really happening, nothing's changing, but this guy's got a bunch of items on him. So he's got a sweet ass S rank helmet on him, so he grabs that up. He has like 1.5 million gold, which is great because he can buy some more stuff in the shop. He has a instant teleportation item and like a rune sphere, which gives him extra abilities, right? But he doesn't get to the rune sphere. By the time he gets to the teleportation item, as soon as he glances at it and he like looks up what it does, it's like, all right, quest is going to start now. And he's like, quest is going to start now? And so the job change quest begins now. And there's a countdown in the sky. And so this instant teleportation orb lets him get the fuck out of here. And I guess the what's going to happen is that he has so much time. And or the more time he can like survive before using the orb, the more points he gets to like buy a better class or something. And what happens is all these dimensional gates like open up and they just start releasing knights, and like there's one wizard who casts like a spell so that he can see Jin when he's stealth, which is important because Jin stealths to like get ahead of the game, but that doesn't work too well. Also, so then he starts fighting the knights, and he casts like murderous intent and all this stuff, and he's like punch. His HP's going down, and eventually he's gonna like overwhelmed, and he's about to get like destroyed. He's like, all right, time to teleport the fuck out of here. So he grabs his teleportation orb, and then it gets knocked out of his hand. Oh no, what's he gonna do? He uses the power of malice to keep fighting. And fight he does, and he fights, and he gets up to like 6.5 minutes, 7 minutes or something, and he notices there's another timer counting down, and he's like, the fuck is that? And as he's beginning to get like super overwhelmed, where at the point where he has like 93 hit points out of like 10,000 or whatever, and he's like, this is it, guess I'm gonna die. The countdown hits 0, and it's like, you have failed the daily quest, time to go to the punishment zone. And he's like, punishment zone? The fuck? So Jin had purposely not done the daily quest here, and so that he could go try himself out in the centipede, so he could get a measure of how well he would do in the demon tower, right? And so because of that, he's now in the centipede area, and he's killing the shit out of him. So he spends about 4 hours killing them. He levels up, and since he's not in the job quest, he's able to recover. And he's also able to get some items. He buys like a new dagger with all the centipedes he's able to kill, and so he's doing pretty great. The dagger he buys specifically is like a night killing dagger, and then he kind of figures out that he can use Mage Hand or he levels up Mage Hand or something. Anyway, he's able to chuck the dagger and then retrieve it, right? So that's super useful for this. I don't know if I mentioned that before. Anyway, he heads back, and at this point, while he was killing centipedes for 4 hours, he figured that the knights he was killing were just like summonable creatures, and they weren't actually the true test of his mettle in this job quest. And actually, the mages that he saw for a little bit, they're the true bad guys, because when he used his like invisibility, stealth skill, the mage like stopped casting something and cast something else that revealed him to him. And while he was doing that, all the knights were like standing around. So smart. Excuse me. He then relatively easily kills all 5 mages, and then he gets like an analysis from a computer, and he's rated, for some reason, he's rated on his ability to complete the quest, how long he was at the quest. He gets all these bonus points, and since he was in the centipede punishment zone for like 4 hours, that all counts. So instead of like the 6 minutes he was going to get initially before he used the stone, he is like 26 minutes or something. Or no, 4 hours and 26 minutes, like a long fucking time. Anyway, so initially it's like, oh, we analyzed you and your fighting style and everything that's going on, and we declare that you will be a necromancer. And he's like, oh, fuck this. It's like, do you want the job? And he's like, nah. And then the machine or whatever, the voice in his head is like, the psychotic voice in his head is like, are you sure? This is a hidden rare job. And he's like, hidden rare job, huh? And he starts thinking about it more, and he's like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. And then the computer's like, let me analyze everything else, all your bonus points and whatever. And then it's like, all right, you've upgraded from Necromancer to Shadow Monarch. And he's like, Shadow Monarch, huh? And so what does that do? And so that allows him to turn monsters or anything that he's killed or anything that's dead into like a shadow form, which is much stronger than the normal undead a Necromancer would be able to. And so he can summon up to, I think, 30 to start. Later on, it's like hundreds of thousands. Anyway, and then he's also able to store some of those creatures. So he goes back. He goes back, I think it's chapter 4 at this point. He goes back and resurrects Ignis, who's the boss. And he's like, awesome. So now he's got like a hero character, and then a bunch of like wizards and knights. And he's like, this is great. So he gets kicked out of here because he's completed the job quest and everything's doing great. He got some more armor and shit from the boss, and then he got the mage hand. What is it? He got mage hand. It's oh, that's right. He doesn't get that till he's in the centipede area, so that did happen in chapter 3. Anyway, so chapter 4, He goes to parent-teacher conference, and he finds out his sister's amazing. She's so smart and so good, and there's no issues there. And a bunch of, like, high school girls are, like, loving all over him from a distance, and, like, teachers like, wow, he's so handsome. Anyway, he finds out that this chick, one of the classmates of his sister, has stopped going to school because she was awoken as, like, an E-rank hunter. And so she's been off doing that bullshit. And he's like, oh, who's that? And then he finds out it's dun dun dun, that high school girl from his raiding party. You know how the sidekick hired like up to 10 people, so 8 more people to just kind of hang out and fuck around while they close gates, because that way they have to have at least 10 people to register for a game. One of them was a high school girl who is classmates with Jin's sister. So he decides he's got to go kind of figure that bullshit out and help her, like, not make the same mistakes he did, where he almost died because he was an E-rank adventurer and she is also an E-rank adventurer and really shouldn't be, like, giving up on school and stuff. So then chapter 5 opens up and we spend some time with the sidekick. He's interacting with his family. They're having like a gala or whatever. We find out his brother's a huge asshole and that his dad's very tough but fair. Well, he also has like a cousin. I'm going to assume it's a cute cousin because in my head, most Korean girls are cute. So, it's facts. Anyway, so he has a cute cousin, and she is, I think, a rank hunter. Let me look at my notes, see if I wrote it down. Yep, she's an A rank hunter. And if you remember, Sidekick's only like a D rank or C rank hunter. I think he's only a D rank. And anyway, they're like homies, so they're chatting about stuff and all that good stuff. Anyway, so then he kind of expresses to her like his plan of action and everything that he's doing, and then he gets a call from Jin, so he heads out. Meanwhile, Jin is talking to the White Tigers because he wants to tag along with them, so he can show this girl what it's like to be in like an actual dungeon, right? Because she's never actually been in one. So he's like, oh, if it's going to be like an A rank, some A ranks and B ranks, and they're going to have like a supervisor that's an A rank, and so they're going to go into like the C rank dungeon, and they're just gonna, it's gonna spook her a little bit because she's gonna see how crazy it is and stuff. And so they decide, they're like, yeah, that's cool, man, we try to recruit you anyway, so we'll do bend over backwards to do whatever favor you want. And so he's like, awesome. And then we meet the A rank hunter, and he's an asshole, of course. It's going around. So they go into the gate, and right when the girl, like a few of the people go in the gate, and then the girl kind of gets like sucked into the gate, and Jin's like, the fuck? And so he reaches forward, it's like sticky, icky, gooey, and he's like, that's not right. So then he's like, don't anyone else come in here, and let the Sung-hee or whatever, the white tiger guy that he knows, and the guy who's like running the guild is like, the fuck? And then he gets sucked in, and the gate turns red, and everyone's like, ruh-roh. So what the hell is a red gate? A red gate, so every now and then these gates will transform into a more intense raid gate, but it's only supposed to happen with like A rank, B and A rank gates maybe, or just A rank gates. Because remember, there's only been like one S rank gate that I can recall people talking about. That's one like the Ant Island off Korea, where they had to like completely abandon it and just be like, fuck it, fuck that place. But even like these A rank gates can turn into, they keep saying high rank, high grade, high rank gates. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's an A or B. It's definitely not a C, so I don't know. Anyway, C seems like it's pretty low key. Like it's not like a D or an E, which is like nothing, but it's definitely a little higher than those. Anyway, so then the dude calls the boss and the tiger guy, and they come out like, the fuck happened? This is not, C rank gates can never turn red. Like what is going on? And something I forgot to mention is at some point in one of these chapters, we get these two like government lackeys, these dumbass bureaucrats, and one of them's like, hey, I don't think this like gate measuring device is working correctly because it's not like, it's like sputting out weird numbers. And the other guy's like, what do you mean? And it's like, yeah, it's been acting weird all week, but like, what should we do? And the guy's like, well, don't tell anyone it's not been working all week. Fuck, we'll get in a lot of trouble. Just say like, you just noticed right now that there were some issues. So they clearly had checked this gate, were like, I don't know, C rank, and it was not C rank, it was much higher. So the people inside the gate are fucked because the gates are ranked on how much like mana, their mana levels or something. Yep. So, and the other thing that gets brought up at this point by the leader of the guild when he shows up is that they could be in there for months, because like I guess 1 day on the outside world, inside the gate worlds could be like a long time, like months, weeks or months, especially these red gates specifically, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so that takes us to chapter 6, which is inside the gate. So once inside, the crew immediately gets attacked by these like snow elves, and they're identified as being very wicked, like they smile very wickedly. And one of them almost kills the girl, the high school girl, but Jin saves her by grabbing the arrow out of the air. But then one of the B rank guys gets killed like immediately. Then after that, the A rank, and then they like kind of take off. The A rank guy takes all the B ranks and it's like, we're gonna go, the rest of you just sit here and don't die or whatever, because the only way to get out of this gate is to wait for a gate break, which can take like weeks, which in here is like months, or you got to defeat the boss. So he's like, well, I'm an A rank and I'm the best, even though I'm just barely awakened as a hunter, and then these assholes are all B rank, so we should be okay. And then one of the B rank ladies is like, no, I'm gonna stay here with this guy, and he's like, fine, do whatever the fuck you want. And the reason why is because, first of all, Jin's hot, which comes up later. But also, she noticed that no one else noticed it, but he literally grabbed an arrow out of the air from like a snow elf as soon as he like walked in the gate. So she's like, this guy is definitely a better like warrior than like initially like impressions would belie. Anyway, so the A rank and all his homies go off to die pretty much. And then Jin is like looking around, and because he's trying to figure out where the boss is, or like he's trying to figure out a place where he can like level up and set up camp or whatever. And so he's like, all right, guys, come with me. And they're like, where are you going? And he's like, we're gonna do whatever the fuck we want. A rank, get the fuck out of here. And he's like, yeah, fuck you. And so Jin is following like bear tracks, and the A rank gate notices, and he's like, guys, that guy's such a dumbass. He's gonna get all those people killed. Oh well, they're a bunch of assholes. Fuck them. But that's not. Jin is like, oh good, I can fight some of these like winter bears or whatever. And he does. He goes and he starts kicking the shit out of him, while the B rank lady and the E rank and the other B ranks are just kind of putzing around. They set up like a little camp. Oh, at first they're really cold, and so Jin's like, oh, you guys are cold, my bad. And so he opens up his like in-game menu shop and buys them all like winter clothes and like camping supplies. So they're just like fucking chilling. And then he goes off to kill all these bears, and then he starts summoning bear shadows, and he levels up, and this goes on for like a week or something. And after like a week of like killing bears and like summoning and like leveling up and getting gear and all this shit, he's like, man, it's been a while, I'd probably go find the boss of this place and kill him too. That's probably a good idea. Meanwhile, over the last week, the asshole guy, he's gotten like his entire team killed. Like they've just been like turned up, and he's wandering around, he's starving, and he stumbles into Jin's like party. He's not there, he's off killing bears by himself. And they're just like chilling like it's like a summer vacation, man. It's like, and he gets so mad that he starts threatening them, like, what is going on? And then he pulls his sword out and he's gonna start skewing them. And then Jin rolls up and just like conks him on the back of the head, and he falls over. And it's like, good job, way to be an asshole. We then open up chapter 7. The A rank guy has he's led the snow elves, who he was like engaged with, and the leader, who's the boss of the raid, Snow Elf King, exactly to where Jin is. And so then the raid boss is standing there with some of his like minions, and then they start parlaying, and Jin's like, I'm kind of surprised I can talk to you. And then the elf king is like, me too. I've never met a hunter. I've never been able to speak with a hunter before, but you're not a hunter. And Jin's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you're not like them. And he like points at everyone else, and everyone's just like, the fuck is happening? Because they don't understand any of that shit. So that's more of like, you're a player, you're not a hunter, or like whatever, right? Because I'm starting to get the idea that like, so Jin is actually playing the game that is being portrayed here, right, with the gates and everything. Well, the rest of these guys are just like byproducts of like something on the side happening that have like nothing to do with like the machinations of the actual like story that is occurring. It's like a bleed off, but they spend so much time on like these low rank gates that they're not seeing like the forest for the trees, essentially. Anyway, so then the king is like, hey, one of my guys wants to get revenge for you. He says you're pretty strong, so he's going to fight you. And then Jin just like throws a dagger and kills him in one shot, and then summons his dagger back. And the raid boss is like, oh, this is going to be so good. But you really think you can beat me and my entire crew here? And then Jin's like, yeah, I fucking do. And he summons like his shadow army, and then they fight. And Jin at the same time is like looking around, and so he kicks a A-rank sword to him, and he's like, that guy will wake up in a couple minutes, that'll be good. And so he goes and he starts fighting with the king while his minions are like fighting the elves, and it's not going super well for Jin. He's like holding his own, but he's definitely like outmatched by this guy by himself. And then the A rank wakes up and he's super pissed and he sees Jin. He's like, I'm going to kill that motherfucker. And so he pops up to kill him, but then Jin summons Ignis and Ignis stabs the shit out of him. And then Ignis starts fighting the Elf King. And then Jin turns around and uses Shadow Monarch powers to raise the guy, the hunter, as another minion, which he calls Iron. Yes, he calls him Iron. And then between Iron and Ignis and Jin, they end up killing they fucking kill the Elf King. They end up getting him real good. And once he does, he's like, start gathering up items. And then the gates, they get popped out. And so the head of the White Tiger Guild and everybody are like standing around. And then all of a sudden the gate like opens up. And like his people, like the lady and the other two guys, and then the girl and Jin all like pop out of the gate, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you guys beat the raid!" And they're like, "Wow, that A rank must be a lot better than we thought he was, because he got the gate open. That's incredible. We didn't even think he could do it, and he didn't because he's dead." Anyway, and essentially the survivors have like all sworn like secret allegiance to Jin. They're like, "We're not going to say shit to anybody about anything." So they come out and they're just like, "Wow, that was wild," and so. Then the leader of the White Tiger Guild is like, "Hey, what the fuck happened in there?" And Jin's like, "Shut up. I don't want to talk about it." And the guy's like, "What? How dare you talk to me like that?" And Jin's like, "Shut the fuck up, man. I just survived like a month in this asshole like dungeon that you guys should have got checked out. Like you sent a bunch of guys to die in there. That's on you, not on me. Like I saved their lives. You should be saving or respectful to me." And then the head of the guild's like an S rank guy, and he turns his like eyes into like tiger eyes or something, hence the white tiger adage. Something like that. We learned like a while ago, I can't remember where, maybe in the first book, that these S ranks all have like oddities that make them like super special, like SSR Pilgrim Nikkeis, right? Where they're just like using stuff that like no one else has. And so this guy has some sort of like tiger adaptation abilities or something. Anyway, so they have a huge dick measuring contest and Jin wins, and the guy finally like bows to him and is like, "Thank you." And then Jin, he's like, "I gotta take this girl home. It's late." And so he takes her home. And then the White Tiger's just trying to figure out what to do. And the guy's like, "Is that the guy you were trying to recruit? The E rank?" And then the guy's like, "Yeah." He's like, that motherfucker definitely reawakened. And he's definitely like, he stood up to like my S rank ability. Is like, we got to get that motherfucker in this guild by any means necessary. And the guy's like, "Yes." So he's super excited about that. And then we find out from Jin that he was so sourpotamous, not because of anything that occurred, except that like he gets 3 shots apparently to like resurrect somebody into like a shadow mold and then put them in his storage, and he failed in all 3 shots for the Elf King, and he's like super sourpotamous about that. And that's the only reason he was like doing the dick measuring stuff, because he was so caught up in like, man, I could have had a cool elf sidekick. I'm pissed, which is pretty funny. Anyway, so then the next day, Jin and the side character, they go out to eat and chill about nothing. And this is chapter 8 at this point. Meanwhile, back in America, there's like a rank A gate where there's a bunch of rank A hunters, and they get beat up by some guy, and then they bring him out, and he's like in prison or whatever, and they're like, and he keeps saying like, "I'm Korean. I've been locked up in this gate for like over 10 years. And we find out that this dude is Jin's dad. Holy shit. So that's where he was. Holy cow. He's been stuck in this gate forever. And he's just like, he's talking. And then they send that like tongue asshole guy whose brother tried to kill Jin in the first book, who swore like to the death to Jin, even though he doesn't know shit about anything. Anyway, so they send him in there to talk to him, because I guess he's an S rank, and it's like, "Hey, you got to figure out if this guy's a hunter or if he's like a magical beast." And the guy goes in there, and he's like trying to get information, and the guy's like, "I just need to go back to South Korea, and like this is like bigger than you, and it's like there's no way you could handle anything that's going on. Like I gotta get my like head straight and kind of figure this out." And the guy's like, "Whatever, I'm supposed to determine something." And the guy's like, "I'm not gonna determine shit, man." He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll show you a lesson or two." And then Jin's dad is like, "There is a force. What does he say? There is a force that will kill all the hunters because they are all bitches." Based. And this guy like turns off the recorder, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna fuck you up, and then I'm gonna go kill your dad." And then we go to we like get out of there, and so we skip over to Jin approaching the demon castle, where he gets a quest to gather demon souls. He needs 10,000 demon souls and so much experience points or something. And so every demon he kills gives him like a demon soul. And then this dungeon's in like this 100-floor building in Korea. Right, so it matches. So every level is like a floor of this place. Only it's not like he's going up the floors; he's going up like levels. But there's 100 levels because of the thing or whatever. So he literally is like, he tells his sister and like whoever else, like he tells like the assistant that like, hey, I'm gonna take like a week off I just need to take care of some personal stuff, so don't bother me. And so he just hangs out in this castle for like a week, killing demons and going up levels. And he starts off in the first level, he just like massacres them and everything, and then continues onward. Right at the end of chapter 8, we get one of the White Tiger guys gets a call from Japan, and they're like, hey, there's this gate. Remember that gate on the island with the ants? And he's like, yeah, and it's like, apparently it's spilling out. And they're like, what are you talking about? It's like, well, we found an ant, like a flying ant, on the shores of Japan, and everyone's kind of like, oh, fuck, we're in trouble. Dun, dun, dun. And that takes us to chapter 9. And chapter 9 just continues Jin's like utter obliteration of this tower. He's working his way up, getting a bunch of experience points. The demon souls coming pretty slow. They come like one at a time. I guess like there's some message somewhere where it's like higher level ranked demons will have more souls. They'll have like slave souls or something. Anyway, at some point he's like riding his bear around, like the king of the bears from the pass gate, and he calls him Tank because he just runs really fast and he hits these demons and they just like die. Oh man. Meanwhile, on the outside, Sidekick is meeting with his dad, and he broaches the subject of him being guildmaster, and then the dad brings one of the guys who survived the gate over, and he's like, tell him. And it's like, oh yeah, we were in the gate and there was this guy and blah 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 blah, and his name's Jin whatever. And the guy's like, oh, Jin, that's my homie. And then because the dad's like, I was looking through your paperwork that you gave me about all the gates you've destroyed, and I saw his name continuously appear, and it's like, if you can get that guy in the guild, then yes, you have my blessing. You will be the guild leader and not your brother. And he's like, I'll do it. I'll make it happen. And he's like, good. And it's like, you know, the dad's like barely smiles, but it's like the greatest smile his son's ever seen kind of shit. It's some like deep-seated like daddy issue kind of thing going on. And he's also like, holy shit, that's why he was so close to that girl. Because when they were out like chilling in like chapter 7, I think, and he was like, man, you're really close to this like high school girl. What's going on there? And Jin's like, nothing, why? And he's like, oh, no. Seems like something's there. And he's like, oh, they were trapped in a gate together. That makes more sense. Because everyone had like heard about the changing of the gate and whatnot. Anyway. So then the reports back in the Demon Castle Tower Dungeon, Jin is continuing to crush it. We learned that the demons cannot be extracted as shadows, which kind of makes him sad because the game, or the voice in his head keeps telling him the mana's corrupted. But he gets up to the 50th floor, and there he meets the boss, Vulcan, the master of the lower floors. And that takes us right into chapter 10. So the mid-level boss for the whole dungeon, Vulcan, he's a big stompy demon with a big club. Like, he's very big and keeps coming up. And so he has like a little crew of homies, and then Jin summons his crew of homies, which at some point has ballooned to like, I think someone says 700. Like, I was like, what? So he's got a lot. He's got a lot of fucking dudes, man. Unless I misheard that, but again, like I was like 700. Fuck, when did that happen? Anyway, so Jin goes up to the guy because he's like killing some of his shadows, and he's not a big fan of that. And he just like punches him so hard, the guy goes flying back and crashes into a building. And Jin's like, "Oh yeah, I may be like a shadow monarch mage now with all this intelligence, but I also invested so much into strength at the start that he has his biggest stat is strength. Like it's like 150." Because he keeps getting levels, and every time he gains levels, he gets like stats and everything. And he's like, oh yeah, my strength is super fucking ridiculous. Anyway, so Vulcan gets up and he uses Rage, which if you remember from Cerebus, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but Cerebus did the same thing when he first entered, where he uses Rage and it gets all his stats like 50% bonus. And so Jin's like, ruh-roh. So he gets Iron to toss him his shield. And then he uses the shield to deflect the guy, and he tries stabbing him, but then he almost gets hit with the club, but he uses... What does he use? That's right. He uses Mage Hand to push himself back from Vulcan, which is like a nifty way to use that trick, right? And this is like the second book series I read in a row where like Mage Hand, they call it something different. It's like Royal Grip or something. Anyway, Mage Hand has been used like in 1,000 ways that are more interesting than Dungeons & Dragons will ever let you use it. But it's good stuff. And then he comes up with an idea, and he's like, all right, cool, I got an idea. So he runs to a building like far away, and then Vulcan's like super mad that he's running away. And I just want to point out that the voice actor who does all the reading of this book does a fantastic job making like noises and changing his intonation when it's like the machine talk or like the voice in his head talking. And then sometimes with these demons, he does like weird noises, which is hilarious. Because like for Vulcan, whenever like Vulcan's like unsatisfied with the results of the occurrence, it's like, Murr? And it's like, it's unintentionally like hilarious every time. It's just like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Anyway. So he runs up the side of this building, and Vulcan comes right up to him and is about to hit him, and then he like dives down, and Vulcan this time doesn't have the space or wherewithal to like swing his club at him, and so he just stabs him right in the face real good and kills him, and that ends the boss battle. And then he gets some sweet ass stuff, including a set item earring, and there's 3 parts to the set item. And if you've ever played like, what is it, Torchlight, or what is it, not Pathfinder, it's like Diablo games, right? Looter shooters. Sometimes you get these set items, and the more of them you get, the better they get, right? So he gets the first in the set item, like the demon necklace or the demon earring or whatever, and then there's a necklace and something else. Anyway, so he's like, awesome, that's great. He also gets this orb that doubles magic damage, which he can't use, but he's like, I can always trade this for something better outside world, because he can give items to people, to like hunters, to actual hunters, right? Even though he's like a player, he can't use potions, but he can like dump potions on people. Anyway, this good stuff. Anyway, so then moving forward, he gets up to like the 74th floor. And then he's like, man, I'm tired. And like, I guess like as the floors go, they start to have like an aura of fire. So he's like continuously taking fire damage. And he's like, I can't finish this. I need to like get out of here and like recharge my abilities and get some like an anti-fire equipment. But then he looks at like how many souls he needs, and it's only like, it's like hundreds. Like it's very little, like maybe 3,000, I think. Anyway, so he's like, all right, well, let's just see what's going on. So he goes to the 75th floor, and there's another boss, and this is a mage boss that summons things, and he's like, too easy, and he kills him like almost immediately because he just summons his, and this is where the game or the book's like, he summoned 700, and then his army fights that guy's army, and he just like charges ahead using dash and stealth and kills the guy in like one hit, and then he gets like the necklace set item, and he's like, all right, I'm almost there, because he gets like 2,000 souls from this or something, so he needs like an extra 1,000, I don't know. Anyway, he gets it eventually. Like it skips ahead, and he kills like an archdemon, and then he gets like 5 more souls, and he's like, I got it. Now I can order anything I want. And he's like, because that's one of the rewards. And he's like, I want a cursed mystery box, which if I remember correctly from the first game or the first book is what he got that gave him the key to this place, because it gives you what you want. But then the blessed mystery box gives you what you need. So I think yeah. So he got a cursed mystery box, which gives you what you want. And that's the end of the book. But I actually skipped a couple things, so I just want to talk about Jin's stuff. So while this is all going on with Jin in the tower, this last chapter, it skips back and forth a couple times. So at one point it skips to the White Tiger Guild, and they're like sending someone over to his house to like see where he's at. And like, where the fuck's this guy? And he's been gone for like all this time. And like, is he hiding? Like, what's going on? And then the lady is like, well, his sister said he went to like a friend's, he went to visit family for like a week, so he's not around. And like, but no one's seen him. He hasn't left the country or anything. Like, where could he possibly be? Mystery. And then, the pretty B-rank lady from the dungeon has a crush on him, obviously. And she was like willing to work with the White Tiger Guild to get him recruited as long as she could be on his strike team, because she knows that he's like invincible and he'll protect her. Right. Okay. So, and then the last part is we get that tongue asshole, and he wakes up in the hospital, and he's like, the fuck happened? And his last thing he remembers is making that comment that we had a few chapters back, and then he was like unconscious. And then this guy shows up from like the U.S. government, and he's like, oh yeah, that guy kicked the shit out of you. And then the guy's like, are you sure this guy's a magic beast, not just like another hunter? And he's like, I'm positive. And he shows him a video, and it's literally like there's a burning building, and someone recorded that like this magic beast, quote unquote, like Jin's dad just like helped get everyone out of the thing and like put out the fire, and then like meandered off. And then he's like, are you positive? And he's like, yeah, fuck that guy. And then he's like, I swear vengeance, I will kill him and his son, and I will go to Korea. And then the government guy at some point is like, do not go to Korea. Oh no, the last thing he remembers is the guy's like, hey, fuck you, trying to do that to my son and to me. And like, if you better not go the fuck to Korea. If you go to Korea, I will kill you. And the guy's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it. And that's the end of his story. But then the book like ends with Jin getting the mystery box. So volume 2 of Solo Leveling is excellent. The title makes no sense. I've officially decided. Like, yes, he is solo leveling, but all right, whatever. Anyway, fantastic. I'm really enjoying this book series, and like I was kind of worried because I got 8 of them, and I was like, well, I'm going to power through it. And I think there's 11 total books, so I'll see if I can find them, or at least the light novel versions. Maybe I'll read them, because by that point I'm not committed. But it's excellent. I'm really enjoying it. If you like fantasy stuff, that's kind of like not super fantasy. I would call this like low fantasy, like a modern setting kind of situation. If that sounds good to you, like this, it's very good. This is very well written, and the Koreans continue to crush it across the board. Music, video games, books, like holy shit. Never did I imagine. I like playing Nikkei, reading Solo Leveling. I am like all in on this Korean thing. like blows my mind. There's so many people in the West, and they're so incompetent and bad at doing things. It's mind-boggling. This stuff is so good, and good for them. And I will live it. I'll live the dream of the Korean entertainment experience. But yeah, cool. So definitely recommend. This book series continues to be excellent, and we'll see if it maintains. But I will go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I will catch you all later. Bye.